Welcome to the Coach Dave Love podcast. This is the first mini pod, gimmick to be named later. We have a topic today. Dave put 12 minutes up on the clock, regulation NBA quarter. The topic today is how shooting habits can be geographical. Dave, go.
Okay, so this is something that I've always I've been like really curious about. Where I go and I've done clinics now in Melbourne, Australia. I've done clinics in Eastern Canada, Western Canada, in the United States, in Spain, and in a lot of ways, kids are the same everywhere. Where I can see like, oh, I've seen that shot before. I haven't ever met that kid before, but I've seen those habits in another kid in a different part of the world. But then there always ends up being these little pockets where people like have all learned from one coach, and they seem to have really, really similar habits. And I find it fascinating. It didn't feel like the kind of episode that we could get a whole podcast out of, but we thought of the mini pod idea, and this seemed like a realistic topic to see what comes out of.
This is the coaching tree idea where you have the coach that teaches all the other coaches that teach all the other coaches, and it's really just a giant pyramid scheme teaching these kids how to shoot.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Have you read Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell? Is this?
It's over there somewhere.
This is sort of the beginning of Outliers, isn't it? Where he talks about like, how come we end up, or is this a different Malcolm? I'm almost certain it's a Malcolm Gladwell book where like, why did like 5 of the 12 best such and such all come from this one region in Brazil?
Yeah, this is exactly right. It starts with the hockey players born between January and March and ends up with the people in Pennsylvania that all live to be 85 that are first generation from this Italian village. You know, that's the progression. So we're right smack dab in the middle of that.
So what made me think about this is I had a coach who is on my newsletter, and I think he listens to the podcast, who coaches a team of high school girls in Vermont. And he asked, can we have you do, it's the beginning of our off season, can we have you do a video shot analysis for each of our players? And I said, sure, absolutely. And so we arranged for them to all submit their videos. And if there were 12 girls, I've lost track of how many exactly there were. 10 of them, let's say 85% of them, were like the same principal habit. That they all would catch a ball, even if they were catching sort of up at their shoulders, would catch it and bring it directly to shoulder height to a very low set point. And so I always describe a shot as having 2 motions in it, a lifting motion and then a shooting motion. And the transition point in between those 2 motions is what I call the set point. It's the first moment in which the hand gets underneath the ball, hopefully, in order to lift it on line. And all of their set points, they went directly to that position and then tried to shoot out of it. And so just after seeing the 5th one, thought like, how strange is this that they all have this habit, but then it makes perfect sense where they probably all learned from the same person and then saw all of their teammates doing the same thing, and there's all kinds of little versions of this.
For reference, for the listeners on Spotify and Apple, Coach Dave is taking the ball directly to his right shoulder. So the set point is like almost physically on top of the shoulder.
Yeah, and so in a perfect world with a mature player who's 6'7" and 220 pounds, I would want that set point to sort of be above the forehead or at least above the nose. And that gives a lot of room for a player to get their hand underneath the ball in a comfortable position, but still also has room for them to lift their elbow out of that position. And when a mature player has a low set point, usually that set point is sort of down at the tip of their nose, their fingers around the tip of their nose. Young players try to they're really putting their body in a position where they're sacrificing arc in order to get distance, because distance is fun. And so they put that set point down below their chin, which forces their hand more on the back of the basketball so they can really propel it forward. And a lot of, especially boys, have figured out that, okay, I can start the ball lower down at sort of a triple threat position, lift it to that low set point and go from there. And now I've got power from my lift path, which is good, into a low set point, which isn't as good. And then some other people just discover the solution of, I can be really efficient if I can just load it right to that set point and go. But unfortunately, that's not very powerful. Mm-hmm. And when a young, small player sacrifices power in order to try to get efficiency, well, I like the trying to get efficiency part, but your body needs the power. Mm-hmm. And if you're not giving it the good power, then it's going to go finding the bad power. And usually what they do is push with the guide hand out of that.
I was going to say the twisting shoulder is sort of the image that I have in my head of generating power from that standpoint.
6.5 minutes. What do we even feel like we have anything more, or do we wrap up the main pod now?
I was going to ask you, because I don't want to concede early. We're only down 10. I don't want to concede early. We still have time to rally. Do you see that this is kind of again, you went to teach basketball in Spain. Again, kids are all different, but the habits tend to be the same. Do you think it's geographical, or it comes from that coaching tree, generally speaking, that
it comes from the coach, but coach is in a part of the geographic. Just joking. I know that's not actually how to use that, but I think it's funny. And the other part that really cracks me up. So good job getting us to push through and fill the entire quarter, play out the entire 12 minutes,
play out the string.
I think it's really funny because I'll do clinics, as you know, you've helped me with some of them, where you're in one town for a day and then drive 75 miles to the next town and do at a clinic the next day in the other town. And I've had situations where I've taught the exact same thing between two different clinics. And in clinic one, the coach said to me, "Oh, thanks so much. That was great. It's so great to learn these new modern ideas." And you're like, "Great. Awesome. Thank you." And then you drive 75 miles and 24 hours later, the coach says, "That was really great. Thank you for really reinforcing the old school method." And you're like, "Well, hold on. I'm old school now, but I was modern a second ago." But it's just like the ideas I taught to the first group were new to them. And the ideas that I taught to the second group, the same ideas, were reinforcing what they already they knew. There is no modern, really. Everything has been taught in these little pockets, and it's just like, who did we all learn? Who is the top of that coaching tree? How many people did they have under them, and how closely did they adhere to the teachings of that first person?
Well, especially when there's sort of these nicely wrapped up in a bow teaching solutions. Like beef used to be the thing they used to teach shooting, and if that is what coaches are learning in this area, then of course, the kids are going to follow that, and so on and so forth. The sort of downward, it trickles down, a trickle down effect.
Yeah,
but
yeah. So
especially.
Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't.
No, it's okay. I was real quick. I was going to say, right now in New Brunswick, in the province that I live in, province is like a state in Canada. there's a real push by the governing body in New Brunswick to try to get all the coaches kind of teaching the same way, because generally we don't have a lot of population, so we don't have a lot of size, which means we have to make up for it in skill sets. So teaching skill is sort of their like, that's the sort of end goal, to make up for the lack of size and volume.
Right. So you brought up beef. We've got like minute 45 to go. What did the acronym BEEF stand for in Moncton, New Brunswick when you were growing up? Let's see if it's the same as what it was in Alberta in the 1980s.
Brilliant. Yeah. We're a little behind the times here in the East Coast. I believe it was the B was hand under the ball. One of the E's was elbow in. One of the F was feet square. To be honest, I can't remember.
Then our beefs are completely different.
And I have beef with that.
Which kind of proves the whole, I'm glad we're finishing on this. We've got a minute 10 to go. My beef that I learned was balance, eyes on target, elbow in, follow through.
Oh, maybe that's maybe close to what we had. I have I have a child. I apologize.
So everybody that is listening to the mini pod, thank you. We're wrapping up now. We got 50 seconds to go in it. Hit me up on social media at Coach Dave Love or at Coach Maddie Robb, and let us know, what did beef stand for when you were growing up, or what does it stand for you now? And let's just see how geographic is what gets taught out there.
And next mini pod, I will
25
share.
seconds.
Next mini pod, I'll share the acronym that Dave used to coach in his clinics, and that one of the kids I coached came up with to kind of go through. You used to teach us.
Remember, you got 12 seconds. Go.
You used to teach a 6-step process, and we taught kids in a clinic.
7 seconds.
And they came up with an acronym, and I'll share it next week.